Episode 14.
1-4. This is Sean and Danny from Prevail Strength and Lean Strength Online. So we have a studio where we train, strength training, and online training, and adventure things,
Nutrition
and
coaching.
all sorts of stuff. We're gonna dive into episode 14, where we're gonna do a quick review of a goal setting, goal accomplishing workshop. And really we want to narrow down, like, there's a handful of common kind of non-negotiables when it comes to goal accomplishing that we learned from teaching this workshop. And so we had people come in, current students of Prevail, wide range of goals. So we had, weight loss goals, fat loss goals, adventure goals, strength goals, and we workshopped. So there's about 15 people in the room, and we workshopped through every single one of those goals.
Yes.
In establishing this, kind of used like the SMART goal analogy, but
Which, if you haven't heard that, what is that?
yeah. So SMART is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and then timely, basically. And if you're not familiar with that, that's basically, there's lots and lots of like little, you can just Google. There's all sorts
SMART
of
goals,
fun
yeah.
images here, but really, regardless of where someone is coming from, we return to that SMART analogy. That SMART, like, that's not an analogy. It's what's it called when you have a?
I don't know. I thought it was an analogy.
There's a word for when you have a, like a
letter for a word for each letter.
For each thing that's called something.
Okay.
And
I don't know what that would be.
Regardless of what their goal was, there's kind of like three things that are real of the SMART. Three of them came back every single time, regardless of goal. Yeah. Right. And we're going to kind of dive into that because hopefully this helps you figure out how to, because what we did was we took those and then we reverse engineered all the way back down to daily, weekly, tactical practicals. Right. And that's really where a lot of people say, I have this goal, and then they kind of get into this lofty kind of like, I'll do this and or that, and I think this is going in the right direction. Mm-hmm. But there really isn't like, what do I do tomorrow? Yes. And that was really the goal of having a goal accomplishing workshop was we want to have exactly what you need to do tomorrow to get to that step in the future. Right. What do you do this following week? Right. And right. Instead of having this,
because setting the goal is easy.
Right. Having the goal, that's easy to do.
Yes.
And I think the very first part of the SMART is specific. Yes. And that hands down, that's probably specific and timely. When those two things aren't there, it's highly unlikely you're going to reach your goal. Mm-hmm. So those are the first two that you really got to start with. And this takes experience. This takes a coach or an instructor or someone that you're confident with that can be open with you and can kind of bounce these ideas back and forth. Or if you have the ability to like write them down, which I think we had a whiteboard out. Mm-hmm. And I think the act of physically writing is really important. So even if it's a whiteboard or a piece of paper and you have to transfer that into technology or into your notes. Yeah. You can also do this if you have the ability like on a computer to write this out organically like you would write on paper. So if you're in notes or if you're super comfortable and confident with like an Excel sheet and like you like that flow of moving from
kind of like a checklisty, timeline-y thing.
Block. That can help too. Yeah. But specific is the first one. Yes. If someone says, I have a weight loss goal. Okay. That's not specific enough. No. If someone has a 20-pound weight loss goal, is that specific enough?
Can be. I feel like there's still one more question. Maybe two. Right. Maybe three.
I don't think that's specific enough.
No.
Because what does it mean to that person? That's really where we need to get specifics.
Right. And what you mean by like, what does that mean to that person? Is that a specific number on the scale, or is that a specific look you're going for? Is it a feeling? Is it a pant size? Is it attached to another goal?
Right. If someone says, I want to lose 20 pounds, and they're going, oh, I'm 200, I want to be 180.
Right.
Well, is 180 the goal? Or is the idea of what 180 gets you the goal?
Right.
Because that's two different things. Because you can chase that, well, I want to be 180 no matter what, but are you going to be satisfied when you get to the 180?
Sure.
And that's really going to be, that's why that's not specific enough. Because if you say, yes, I want to do 180 because of whatever reasons. Or let's just say that it's like like a competition or some sort of application into like an academy.
Okay.
And they're like, no, you need to be 180.
Okay.
Well, that number really matters quite a bit.
Sure.
And we need to figure out a solution to that.
Yeah.
But if someone says, oh, I want to be 180 because I think that's the size of clothes and the way I'll look in the mirror, then it's not the best goal. It's not specific enough.
Right.
Compared to saying, I'm 200 pounds at 30% body fat. I want to be 5% less body fat. Okay, what number does that mean? Oh, so really, you want to lose 5% body fat.
Right.
Well, that's a much better specific number when it comes to I want to change how I want to see myself in the mirror.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if it's health, and you're like, well, I want to be sub 30% body fat for my health. I'm at 40%. Okay, then the specific number is 10%.
Yeah.
So, and then the next one would be strength goals. If someone says, I want to be able to do a pull-up. Okay, let's get specific. Do you mean a dead hang, overhand grip, chest to bar pull-up? Do you mean a chin-up grip? Like, what does that really mean to you when you say that? Because we want to know, okay, this is what we're going after. Or if someone says, I want to be stronger. Well, stronger in what? You need something very specific and measurable, because if they say, I want to be stronger, and like, yeah, I would like to be able to do 1 chin-up and 25 push-ups. Okay, well, that's two very specific numbers compared to I want to be stronger.
Yeah, I think, too, if you're maybe new to coming into lifting and you're like, my goal is stronger, and you don't really know what that means, though, it's really finding, like, where you feel not as strong. Right. To kind of set that, like, if you're going through this while we're talking. Yeah,
if someone says, I want to get stronger, and, like, I want to start exercising, and, like, do you have a measurable? Because that's the other part of the SMART is measurable. We're like, I would love to be able to get off the ground without having to use my hands.
Yeah, because I notice that I do that all the time.
Right, I always put my hand on my knee, or always grab a bench, or always grab a chair, grab the wall to stand. Okay, well, so you want to get off the ground unassisted.
Yes.
Okay, that's a specific and measurable goal.
Yeah.
And if someone says, what was the other one? Like, oh, I want to hike.
Yeah, I want to hike 5 miles or something.
Well, right. If someone says, I want to, I want to hike the Grand Canyon. Okay, well, specifically what? Oh, I want to hike rim to rim. Okay, specifically what? I want to hike South Rim to North Rim. Specifically what? I want to do that in 1 day. Oh, okay, now I have a hiking goal to, I want to hike Grand Canyon rim to rim in 1 day from the south to the north. Okay, well, then we have a specific, and now which we have specific, we have measurable.
Yes.
Right. Oh, I want to go hike 5 miles. Okay, what do you determine hike?
Do you have a specific hike?
Right. Or do you have
area?
A specific trail or thing, or is it like, I don't even know what hiking means, but I want to do 5 miles in the dirt.
Yes.
Okay, first thing you need to do is you need to find a very specific 5-mile dirt trail to be your end goal. So that's the number one, is once you have specific, you have measurable. Because, and if you don't know, this is how to kind of workshop your specific. If you can't measure it now, it's not specific enough.
Sure.
That's it. I mean, that's all there is to that.
Yeah.
Anything else on measurable, specific?
No, but I mean, kind of a little bit, like even the 5 mile thing, like you're saying, pick a 5 mile for your end goal, because depending on what that 5 miles looks like would depend on the specific of the training.
Right.
So this is why we're like going in and out of this a lot, because if there's elevation, if there's not elevation, if it's if it's going to be cold, if it's not going to be cold, is it?
Let's say you have a friend or a family member or something, and they live in an area where they do this 5-mile trail, right? And you saw them at some holiday or something a year ago, and you're like, I'm terrified to go do that 5-mile thing that they go do every month, and I would love to go do that with them.
Yes.
Well, you would probably need to know, oh, there's this 5-mile trail called blank and blank. It's here. And then you can do some research around, oh, it's 5 miles. It's in super rocky terrain. It has no elevation. Okay, well, then we need to put ourselves into positions to understand rocky terrain, 5 miles. And that's why you need to have that kind of like.
Yeah.
But if it's just...
or like rim to rim, like we know. But if somebody didn't know, you would do a decent amount of research about rim to rim to figure out what you would really need to train for.
Yep. So that'd be specific and measurable. And then I think the next biggest one is time.
Yes.
So specific measurable is SM. Skip over the AR, go right to time. Time is super important because we see with the vast majority of people not hitting goals, they don't have appropriate expectations. They think or they assume or they just they just think it's going to happen, but they don't have an appropriate timeline that matches to an achievable expectation.
Yeah.
Because they think, I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay. And we establish what that really means is you want to lose 10% body fat.
Sure.
Okay. Now, 10% body fat, when do they want it to happen?
Probably tomorrow.
Right.
I mean, that's how I, approach most of my goals.
Right. Everyone would love to be 10% body fat tomorrow. Okay.
Right.
So we have timely, but now we don't have an appropriate timely.
Right.
So then we can go back and say, well, when would you like that to happen? Or like, well, it's December now. I would love for that to happen in June because I have something, or I know I'll be outdoors a lot, or I know I'll be out and about at some, lake or water thing without a shirt on.
Yeah.
And so I want to be that way in June. Okay, well, let's reverse out of that. Let's think about, is 7 months appropriate for 10%?
Right.
Maybe.
So you got to do the math.
So then you got to do reverse. And that's where all the reverse engineering with tactical practicals comes from. You say, I have a 10%. It's a June goal. All right, that's 7 months. That's roughly 1.15 or 1.25% monthly over the next sustained 7 months.
Yeah. Which sometimes it's not as fun to figure out the timeline of these, but it's really helpful.
Yeah.
Like it sounds lame to backtrack it and be like, this is really going to take me 8 months. But then while you're in it, you know that you're right on track.
Yeah. And because then you can get to a timely recipe. If you say, oh, that's a 7-month goal. Very well. That means 1.25% a month. Okay, well, month in, month out of losing 1% body fat, that means at the end of every week, you are, you are 0.3% weekly losing body fat.
Yes.
Okay, right. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means that you need to be tracking body fat weekly. Okay, do you think you can track your body fat weekly? Yes, no. Well, if that's already a no, then we need to go back and change the time to something else.
Yes.
So not June or September or June of the next year or something, because you have to go back to that daily, weekly, monthly, what's actually achievable
and measurable
so that the time makes sense.
Yes.
And if you go and you say June and then you reverse engineer all that back out and you're like, yeah, I'm not ready to put in that volume of effort to hit that goal. That's okay. Great. Because now we can say, well, let's make it June of next year. Oh, 15 months. Okay. Let's reverse engineer what that would look like. Oh, monthly, that means you need to lose 0.5% a month. Okay, here's the recipe on a monthly tactical practical to get to that 0.5%. Does that feel like something that's appropriate? Yes. Okay, so now we have a specific, measurable, and timely goal.
Yes.
And the other two are achievable, which kind of tracks in with, if someone says 10% in 3 months,
we're like, that's probably not achievable.
That's not achievable.
Right. So it kind of aligns with timely a little bit.
Yeah. I think all of these have an overlap, and I think the achievable is kind of assumed with time.
Yes.
But you need someone who understands the real math about it. Because if someone says, I want to do 30 push-ups and they can do 1, 1 to 30 is 100% achievable, right? But it's not achievable in 30 days.
Right.
Is it achievable in 30 months?
Yes.
Right.
Probably.
So that's where the timely is super important.
Yes.
And then the last one is relevant. Relevant means you have to actually care about it.
Yeah.
You know,
and care to put in the work that requires for it to be achievable in that timeline that you want.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. Is it really relevant to this time of life that you're in?
Right.
You know, because if that means I want to be stronger, I want to be leaner, and I want to be faster, and I want to be smarter, and you're like, is that really relevant to what's important to you right now? Where you're just like making it to the end of the week and you don't want to feel like shit.
Right.
Like, it's not really relevant to right now. You might want to like change the specific measurable so that it becomes more relevant.
Yeah. So like more relevant would be almost like, okay, you want to lose 5% body fat. For you to lose 5% body fat, we know we're at least going to have to track protein and calories for a little bit. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in tracking your calories for 2 weeks in a row? And if you're like 5,
not relevant.
No.
Right.
So that's a good like question that you could ask yourself, or if you have somebody that can dive into that with you, that's always helpful.
Right. Yeah. So timely, that just tracks back to, does it make it achievable? Is really what the timely comes into it. And that can be timely with anything, because push-ups, adventure, if someone says, I want to hike rim to rim, and they're like, timely, and you're like, I want to do it in the next 30 days. Okay, that is achievable, but now we need to have some more conversations.
Yes.
Because you're like, where are you now? What is baseline? That comes back to reverse engineering, the whole practical tacticals.
Yes.
And then, you know, with these same SMART goals, we do this with our businesses all the time. And we wouldn't be able to achieve what we wanted to if we didn't take big goals into smaller goals, into dailies, tactical and I think the other two is, even on our side, you have to expect some sort of failure along the way.
Yes. Because not every week, even strength or endurance or fat loss is going to like necessarily be this like continuous drop or progression upward or downward, you know.
That's probably the hardest thing with strength and body composition goals, is that we can take a 12-month plan, we can say it's going to be 1% a month and it's going to be this and this and this, but in reality you're taking those long terms, breaking them into digestible monthlies, quarterlies, or weeklies, because you need to have a path for data trends. But the way that the body works is not linear. Over time, it will look linear, but it's not an exact, like, you can't just say, yes, I'm going to lose 0.3% body fat week in, week out, over and over and over again.
Right.
You can say I have 10 weeks of data and I lost 2% over 10 weeks, which means technically it was 0.25 a week. But when you actually look at the numbers, it might be like 0.10, 0.40, 0.250,
right.
0.30, 0.50,
yeah.
0, 0.25.
Yeah.
And that's normal, but you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, like you might have some lulls, just like push-up.
Right.
If you start with 1, you might get stuck at 3 for a little bit. But then if you continue on, it's still achievable to get the 30.
Yeah. So you want to start zoomed out with some like hard numbers and repeatables. But then you have to understand that once you have those baselines, there's going to be deviations as long as you're going. That's why 100% all of the goals that we helped with on that goal accomplishing workshop came down to weekly measurables. Yeah. All of them had a weekly measurable that was a range, basically. Like, you need to be collecting data weekly. Yeah. But it wasn't that the data has to be this specific number weekly. It was like, if you have a hiking goal, you need a weekly data collection of amount of time you're walking. If you have a body composition, you need a weekly goal or weekly tracking of something.
You're just looking for trend lines.
Right.
Making sure you're at least in the right direction.
Right. And if you have a strength goal, you have a weekly something you need to be tracking. It's not that if you hit the week perfect or not perfect, that's going to ensure the goal is 100%. But all of them, you have to be tracking something weekly to know if you're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Regardless if it's a good or bad week. You got to know what that is. Because you need to reflect back on that and go, oh, I had 3 weeks of 0. Well, maybe I need to realign my SMART goals because this isn't tracking in the right direction.
Is it still relevant? Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Wow.
SMART goals.
SMART goals.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, timely. Oh, that's 5 right there. Yeah. So if you have questions about that, if you're a Prevail student and you're watching, this is why quarterly check-ins are so important because we get to check back in on these SMART goals.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's why we have all these one-on-one conversations with students is to make sure that we're in the right ones with SMART goals. If you become a new student during your 5 onboarding sessions, we're going to go over this idea of SMART goals to make sure we're establishing the appropriate goal moving forward. And of course, if you're not, you can hire us online, or you can just find someone that you can trust to like, hey, let's spend an uninterrupted half an hour over a cocktail or whatever it is, right? And let's just like, you tell me what yours are. I'll talk to them about mine is. Let's roll out the SMART. And then let's like go down each column and be like, okay, is this specific? Can I measure it? Is it achievable? I don't know if it's achievable. Okay, maybe I need to seek out a professional or seek out someone who has experience in this specific goal. They can help me figure out if this is achievable, and they can maybe help me figure out if it's on the right timeline
and relevant to me right now, depending on what type of training or.
Yeah, the relevant one is a weird one because it's like
it's kind of weird, but
it's kind of assumed because you're the one who established the goal.
But sometimes if you don't know what it takes to achieve that goal.
Yeah,
then maybe the relevant comes in after that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the last letter. Like if you figure out the S, M, A, and T, you come back to the R and you're like, ooh, that's actually not relevant right now.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to go back to my different specific because this is not tracking to hit all 5.
Yeah. Oh, I love setting goals.
They're super important. And I think the other part about goals is sometimes they can be open and lofty and vague. When you're specific about that. Like we love when a student comes in, they have not been super consistent with their exercise for 100 different reasons. And they come in and their number one goal is to hit 3 sessions a week for the next 90 days. Yeah. That's it. They don't have a body composition goal. They don't have a strength goal. They don't have a necessary technically that is a health goal because you're doing an activity that makes you healthier. Yes. But they know that that may feel like a kind of a lofty goal. Right. Because it's not like, oh, I want to hit blank. But attendance in studio is something that is still specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely because you have all those things. And you're like, oh, I just want to be in the gym 3 days a week. And I don't want to do anything outside of that. And I want to let the process of exercising be my healthy thing. Yeah. That's also a really great SMART goal.
Yeah. 100%. It's great.
Yeah. There you go. Right to the point. Do we get where are we at?
Wow, we're at 23 minutes.
23 minutes.
That's
perfect.
A record.
Anything else? We can kind of like.
I don't think so.
Recording usually stops about half an hour, so we got 7 minutes. If you have any questions about SMART goals, right, you're on YouTube, comment below, and we'll have a conversation in the comments about it.
For sure.
We'll help you figure it out. If you're a student, reach out. We can talk about SMART goals.
Send me a DM on Instagram, Danny_Prevail.
There you go.
I love messages.
There you go.
If you guys have any topics that you want us to talk about next time, we have kind of slacked on 2 podcasts a week, but maybe that wasn't relevant when I set up that goal.
Maybe that wasn't a good SMART goal. It was a little.
But we've done one a week, so.
You've definitely
I overcommitted us to our new.
Which is normal.
It is normal.
That's normal for us. We always shoot above. Yeah. And we rarely hit our above goals.
Well.
I mean, we've had a 200 members at the studio goal
For a while.
For 2 years.
Yeah.
And we keep getting closer and closer and closer to it. And that's like sometimes you got to put goals out there that are scary.
Yeah.
Because in order to really get that growth, we just also understand that we're going to mess it up. We're going to fail. But we know that in doing that, we're learning lessons for the future that will continue to elevate our progress.
Yeah.
So we almost intentionally put things out there that we're like, we're going to jack this up.
Yeah.
We know we're going to jack this up. But we also know we're going to learn valuable lessons that are going to create a toolbox for the future, and we're okay with that.
Yeah. And when we set big goals, we kind of know that there's like almost levels within that on like baby steps and things to hit.
Yeah.
So that, I mean,
right.
Yeah. We usually shoot pretty big, but
yeah. So,
there's things along.
We still had a positive growth year, even though we didn't hit our,
closer.
Right. And when we had months, we talk about the averages, you can easily say, we need an average of blank net gain a month. We had months where we had a negative month. We had months where we had a positive. We had months at big positive, at low positive.
Low positive. Just a little.
Right. And so it's not like when we hit that negative, we were like, oh, well, pointless. We don't know what we're doing.
We're done.
We just went, okay, what did we learn from that?
Yeah.
How can we restructure? How can we refocus? How can we kind of leverage different things to get us going in the right direction?
For sure.
And I think big, lofty goals, you're going to have weeks, you're going to have months where there's zeros. You're going to have months, you're going to have weeks where you go backwards. And it's just learning that data and saying, very well, I start executing on a new process immediately right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not just going to, like you say, like throw it in the fuck it bucket.
Dang, I got to mark it explicit now.
Yeah. Oh,
kidding.
dang.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go. Last thing,
Perfect.
if you are listening, Prevail's hiring.
Prevail is hiring.
So, as we're looking to round out our current location, number 1, we're looking for this full focus part-time position, 5 to 10 hours on the floor, 5 to 10 hours outside of the gym, marketing, branding, tabling, some online stuff. So if you know someone that would be interested in that kind of hybrid part-time job, reach out to us. We'd love to have them come into the studio, get some sessions in, and then we'll have a conversation interview after that.
For sure. And
then as we continue to push our stretch goals of a second location, we definitely want to be keeping our eyes and ears open for potential new instructors for that as well.
Yes.
And all of our best instructors now were phenomenal students before they were instructors.
Yeah.
And so we really like that recipe. And so if you know someone or if this sounds like you and you want to come in, just reach out to us, send us a DM, and we'd love to meet you.
Thanks. Bye.